Hi guys, today we're going to do a quick lesson that looks at the relationship between tenths and hundredths. So looking at these two models right here, the one on the left is broken into 10 pieces. The one on the right is broken into 100 pieces. So my model on the left represents tenths and my model on the right represents hundredths. So let's write the fraction and the decimal for the model on the left, which is tenths. How many tenths are shaded in? 1, 2, 3. 3 tenths. So we can write that as a fraction and as a decimal. Well, what if the same exact amount was shaded in on my hundredths grid? What would the fraction and the decimal be for that? Well, let's see. I'm going to shade the exact amount in. How many hundredths are shaded in? Remember, we know that there are 10 hundredths in each row, so you would count by tens. Yeah, so 30 hundredths or 30 hundredths. So looking at these two models, looking at my fractions, looking at my decimals, what can you say about 3 tenths and 30 hundredths? How many of you said that 3 tenths is equal or equivalent to 30 hundredths? If you did, give yourselves a big pat on the back because you are correct. 3 tenths is equal to 30 hundredths. Let's take a look at another. All right, let's look at the model on the left. What fraction would I write for the model on the left? Good, 2 tenths and 2 tenths. Now, if I shade the same exact amount in on my hundredths grid, what would I write for my fraction and decimal for hundredths? Good. If you said 20 hundredths, you are correct. And again, what do you notice between the relationship of 2 tenths and 20 hundredths? Yes, they are both equal, equivalent. Good job. All right, let's take a look here. Do you think that 3 tenths are equal to 3 hundredths? Thumbs up if you say, yeah, they're equal. Thumbs down if you say, no, no way. All right, well, let's see. Let's use our models to make a visual representation of this. So I am going to look at 3 tenths and I am going to shade in 3 tenths. 1, 2, 3. So I've just colored in 3 tenths. Now let's look at 3 hundredths. I'm going to shade in 3 hundredths. Okay, so do we think 3 tenths is equal to 3 hundredths? So do we think 3 tenths is equal to 3 hundredths? How many people say, yes, they're equal? I still think so. How many people say, no way, they're not equal? Well, you are correct. They are not equal. They are not equivalent. 3 tenths is actually greater than 3 hundredths, which you can tell by looking at the model. So on, I think it was Thursday's homework, some of you had gotten confused when having to show tenths on a 100 grid. So that's something we're going to look at right now. Okay, so if they wanted me to use the hundredths grid here to represent 6 tenths. Well, it's kind of weird because I'm like, hey, it's broken into 100 pieces, not 10 pieces. How am I going to represent 6 tenths on this model? Well, I need to think about what we just discussed with tenths equaling hundredths. 2 tenths was equal to 20 hundredths. Look at that picture. What do you notice? 3 tenths was equal to 30 tenths. Look at that picture. What do you notice? Okay, so let's go back and now think about this. So I noticed a common mistake that everyone, well, I shouldn't say everyone, there were a couple of people who might have gotten it right. A mistake that people were making, well, they said 6 tenths and they colored in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But you all were able to write the correct decimal. So you knew this is what 6 tenths looked like with digits down there on the bottom. But your model, now looking at that model, would you say that the purple shaded area is equal to 6 tenths? No, you would tell me if you saw that model, you would say that equals 6 hundredths. Okay, so now we have to think about what we know about this model. Well, something that I know is that each strip is equal to 1/10. Each strip is 1/10. See, look at that. Each strip is 1/10. So if I needed to show 6 tenths on here, I would have to color in 6 strips. 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 tenths is equal to 60 hundredths. So 6 tenths is equal to 60 hundredths. Okay, let's just take a look at the actual problems that were on our homework from last week. One of them was 1/10 and one was 8/10. So it said shade the grid for each fraction and write the decimal. So again, everyone was able to write the decimals. But when we went on to shading, we had a little bit of trouble. So we had 8/10 and 1/10. Okay, looking at that right now, do you see the mistake? Okay, do you see the mistake for 1/10 right here? Okay, what's the mistake? Say it out loud. Yeah, the mistake is that 1/10 is actually one entire strip of our hundredths. Okay, so now that matches. Now my model matches my fraction and my decimal. Okay, well, what is the error here for 8/10? Does this match? No, because my model is showing 8 hundredths. So what would I have to do to show 8/10 on this model? Okay, say it out loud. What do you think I need to do? Okay, if you said shade in 8 full strips, you are correct. So this would now match 8/10 on my model, 8/10 in my fraction, and 8/10 in my decimal. All right, nice job. Okay, for today's classwork, you are going to just name the fraction and decimal for equivalent tenths and hundredths. Okay, your classwork has 6 problems and your homework has 6 problems. So let's look. I'm going to show you how you're going to do it, and then you'll be able to complete both assignments. Again, you can type right on the assignment in Google Docs, or you can print it out, write it, and then send a picture through Google Docs, through Google Classroom, sorry. All right, so looking at this first one, what is the fraction for this model? It is 6/10. And then this is 6/10. Now I notice that the next model is in hundredths and it is equivalent. I could tell by just looking at the picture that they are equal. So that is 60 hundredths and 60 hundredths. And these are both equal. Okay, let's look at the next one. I have 9/10 and 9/10. And then I have 90 hundredths and 90 hundredths. And these are both equal. Yes, 9/10 is equal to 90 hundredths. All right, Now I have 7/10 and 7/10, which is equal to 70 hundredths. So 7/10 is equal to 70 hundredths. All right, that's exactly what you're going to do for your classwork and your homework. All right, please submit it when you're done and have fun.